Hello, I'm Emma, and my English class at Oakway High School decided to study Macbeth this year. Shakespeare was truly a beautiful writer and had a beautiful vision for the stage. I learned a lot more about Shakespeare through this chapter than I did through my previous years reading A Midsummer Night's Dream and Romeo and Juliet. This unit was valuable not only for my English and teaching me about literature and history, but also about social aspects of that era. In this video, I will discuss quotes throughout the play and how they relate to the theme, which is ambition, a very strong and meaningful word. William Shakespeare was an amazingly talented man that wrote astonishing plays that are still used and studied today. Although Shakespeare does not have an official birth certificate identifying the date of his birth, he was baptized on April 26, 1564, in Stratford, England. His assumed birthday was April 23, 1564, and this is the date that he was recognized by scholars. William was the third child of local land heiress Mary Arden and a leather merchant named John Shakespeare. Although, before William's birth, his father was an alderman and bailiff, which meant he held very high official positions in the government and was well off financially until around 1570s, where it is assumed his fortune declined. They believe that William's great knowledge was largely due to his father's importance and that he was able to attend the King's New School in Stratford. This school was recognized for giving high-class education on reading, writing, and the classics. William had two older sisters, Joanne and Judith, and three younger brothers, Gilbert, Richard, and Edmond. Later in life, he married Anne Hathaway on November 28, 1582 in Warwickshire. At the time of their marriage, William was only 18, while Anne was 26 years old. Together, they had three children. Their eldest was a girl named Suzanne, born May 26, 1583. They then had twins named Hamnet and Judith, born February 2, 1585. Hamnet later died at the age of 11, known to unknown causes. After the death of William's son, there was a 7-year period where no records are found of what William Shakespeare was doing. By 1592, there was evidence William Shakespeare earned a living as an actor and a playwright in London, and possibly had plays produced during this time. This was the true beginning of his career. By 1597, he had 15 plays published and was well off. In 1599, the Globe was built, and this is where Shakespeare's plays were held, and is an extremely famous theater in his history. Shakespeare's first plays were written in the early 1590s. Those were mostly historical plays that helped us seek insight into what times were like in the Tudor dynasty. Hamlet was one of the most well-known during this time. At the end of Shakespeare's career, he started to write more tragic comedies. These were darker plays, but they were not as dark plays as Macbeth, because they still ended on a happy or light note. Shakespeare's most famous plays include Hamlet, Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, and Julius Caesar. Hamlet was a tragedy about the Prince of Denmark and his father that was murdered by his own brother. Macbeth was the play that my class studied this year about twists and turns through greed and murder. I will go more into depth about this play later on. Romeo and Juliet was about two lovers whose passion for each other was frowned upon due to their family feuds. And Julius Caesar was about, as you can guess, Julius Caesar and his reign. In the play Macbeth, there is a lot of famous and well-noted quotes. The first passage in the play I want to talk about is in Act 2, Scene 2, lines 61 to 70, spoken by Lady Macbeth. My hands are of your color, but I shame to wear a heart so white. I hear a knocking at the south entry. Retire to our chamber. A little water clears us of this deed. How easy it is then. Your consistency hath left you unattended. Hark, more knocking. Get on your nightgown, lest occasion call us, and show us to be watchers. Be not lost so poorly in your thoughts. I believe that this quote is extremely important because it shows you how pushy and ambitious she was about the murder. Lady Macbeth wanted to kill Duncan because she was greedy and wished that her husband would be king. From the second Lady Macbeth hears news about what the witches say, she sees a way that her husband could make this dream a reality. Her ambitious feelings about having her husband be king shows through as after she is told Duncan is to spend the night at their castle. She attempts to prepare herself to do this crime in Act 1, Scene 5, lines 41 to 44. Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here, and fill me from the crown to toe top full of dearest cruelty. Make thick my blood, stop up the excess and passage to remorse. It was extremely clear that Lady Macbeth's ambition was the reason this murder happened, and that Macbeth was very unsure. His indecisiveness is clear, and Lady Macbeth is worried about his gentle nature because she believes he will not have the power to kill him. Lady Macbeth tries her hardest to encourage and reassure Macbeth to do what she wants him to do. She says this in Act 1, Scene 5, lines 16 to 18. Yet I do fear thy nature. It is too full o' the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. I am positive that his remorse and regret after the crime is done is in relation to the fact that he didn't truly ever feel as though murder was the right decision to make. The second important passage I want to talk about is later on in the play. I believe this is a very good passage to show next to the previous quote, as it shows how much change can happen in Shakespeare's plays and how much character change Shakespeare works into his plays. This is on Act 4, Scene 1, lines 170 to 174. The castle of Macduff I will surprise, seize upon Fifi, give to the edge o' the sword, his wife, his babies, and all unfortunate souls that trace him in his line. This is spoken by Macbeth and is filled with ambition, passion, and anger. He wishes to be the most powerful man, but before he was concerned to kill just one man and was given nightmares from such an event. But now, at this time in the play, he is threatening to kill even children so he does not risk the loss of his own throne. Before he had said, I have no spur to prick my intent, which means he wanted to do things and risk things. He just wasn't sure about what the turnout would be and if it would be worth it. But after his success with Duncan, he gets a sense of confidence, and in turn, gains ambition that only ends up getting him into bad situations. His greed overcomes him, and he is unable to think clearly. To him, murder is simply a hurdle that he must overcome now, instead of an awful crime. Another way to see the changes and harsh realities in Shakespeare's play is the suicide of Lady Macbeth. As talked about before, she was very strong passionate about the murder of Duncan being the best and only decision, but after the crime is done, it haunts her. Act 5, Scene 1, lines 30 to 34. The Thane of Fifi had a wife. Where is she now? What? Will these hands ne'er be clean? No more of that, my lord, no more of that. You mar all with this staring. At this point, she is starting to truly regret her decision to kill Duncan. She was caught sleepwalking and telling the secrets about Duncan's death, which was very dangerous. Not long after this, her body is discovered and she is ruled dead. This shows that her guilt and remorse was so strong that she could not bear to live a life with lies. Macbeth was a truly intriguing play, and I'm very happy I got the chance to read it this year. Thank you for listening and watching my presentation.